My bitch pose is nasty. It's that uvu, that finger henny.
And welcome back, Corkies, to episode 37 of Crips and Corks. I'm your host, DJ, here with my co-host,
Paul, as usual.
Paul. In the long time we've been doing this, and by long time I mean about 6 months, I think that has to be the most unhinged opener you've come up with yet.
Thank you. I've been seeing that on TikTok like all week. What it is, it's like they film their cat in weird poses, and it's like, my bitch pose is nasty. And I love it. I think it's so funny. I think it's the funniest thing right now on TikTok.
What am I seeing up on my TikTok all the time? I'm seeing a lot about Colin Bridgerton fingering Penelope Featherington in the carriage in Bridgerton.
What? I'm not on Bridgerton TikTok, so I don't know what any of that means. That sounded like some sort of fruit salad or something.
Colin,
some sort of.
He dead ass in the back of the carriage just fingered Penelope Featherington.
Oh my god, jealous.
And then asked her to marry him.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. But you know what else I've been seeing on my TikTok? And what's been infuriating me? Is these twinks with tarot cards asking for $10 readings on TikTok Live, saying they're spiritual. Bitch, you saw 2 Abraham Hicks YouTube videos. Honey, and why it makes me so upset is because where were these hot twinks when I was in the trenches? I was living in a spiritual community. Bitch, you're shopping at Whole Foods. I was in the trenches. I ate every meal with that spiritual community, bitch. I was in there doing the thing. I need y'all to go out and pick berries with an old-ass man named Hector who thinks he's spiritual because he took an acid trip in the 70s. I'm not taking a tarot trip card from no one who hasn't sat through a David Carr share goddamn Sunday service at Sunrise Ranch, okay? I should not have said names, but well, now y'all know I lived at Sunrise Ranch. It's a lovely place, and you guys should actually go check out Sunrise Ranch. Go check out their website and everything. It was a beautiful place to live, and I definitely recommend checking it out. But the point is, I need these twinks on TikTok to get it together.
2 things in response.
Okay.
First of all, I didn't know the recording could go that red. You shouted that entire thing, and
worked up.
You're gonna have to work during editing to bring that back. Second of all, you do realize that most of these twinks probably went to Amazon, bought a tarot deck, and was like, I'm just gonna make money off this.
Right. And this isn't about gatekeeping spirituality or whatever. It's about I don't know. I just feel some sort of way because I've been in this shit for years and I've been worked up about it recently. Honestly, when you're on TikTok, say Venmo me $10 and I'll answer if Hector or whoever's gonna come back to you or if you're ever gonna see that boy again. It's like, what are we doing here, Samantha?
But here's the thing, and I think we've talked about this before on the pod. That's just how there's a lot of psychic mediums are out there. They're in a shop, and it's for $100, I will tell your fortune.
Right, exactly.
You have a curse on you. You have a blockage. You cannot cleanse it, but I can cleanse it for you for $300.
Exactly. It's giving that. And what people don't realize is you can do these tarot readings yourself. Buy your own tarot deck and do it yourself, girl.
Exactly. And even if you want someone to do it for you, you don't need to go to somebody who's going to charge you $300. And here's the thing. As somebody who's been into psychics, the moment they say you have a curse or you have a blockage, I go, I'm out.
Right. And it's really not that hard to learn tarot. They have fucking online courses.
Oracle cards, if you want to start simple, start with Oracle cards.
Right.
Where you literally pull one and the meaning is written at the bottom.
Right. I'm not trying to start beef with no one either. I'm just saying. I was in the trenches, and when I was living in that spiritual community, all of them were ugly. I'm sorry, there were no hot gay guys. It was just me serving it by myself.
Were there any other gay guys?
No, not really. No, it was just me. So that also makes me a little bitter because it was just me out there like doing my thing, being
Sorry,
the weird
Paul.
one. Do you know how weirdly my family looked at me after I came back from the spiritual community? They were like, "You were doing what for 6 months? You lived where?"
And now you work in corporate.
Right. Oh, yeah, they would definitely consider me a sellout. I'm definitely a corporate sellout. But enough about me. We'll continue this on Uncorked. How was your week, DJ?
I had a whole thing I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
And you going off the chain made me forget about it.
I'm so sorry. I just needed to get that off my chest. Maybe I should talk about the hot guy of the month and then...
Wait, it's coming back to me.
Okay.
Oh, the TikTok sound.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I'm looking for a man in finance, 6'5", blue eyes. Looking for a man in finance, 6'5", blue eyes.
Trust
Fund. Yes, that is what I'm looking for. If you are 6'5", in finance, blue eyes, with a trust fund, slide into my DMs, please. If you're not 6'5", not in finance, do not have blue eyes, and you don't have a trust fund, I'm desperate at this point still.
Right. Shoot your shot. You never know.
I am I am in my spinster era, and I do not like it. I just want a ring on my finger at this point.
Right. We're both in our spinster era.
Pretty soon, I'm gonna in my family, I'm gonna be that cousin who, when everyone gets married, it's my job to make sure everyone RSVPs for the bridal shower.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, DJ can be in charge of the guest list. Spinsters, they're so well organized.
No, you'll find someone. It'll happen. It'll happen for us both one day. But until then, we have our hot guys of the month to keep us comforted.
Tell me about my lover.
Troye Sivan. Troye Sivan has really put in the work for the gay community, really. It is Pride Month, so I'm going to keep harping on it. Have you ever heard his song? It's on his first album, Blue Neighborhood.
Yes.
Honestly,
Paul,
if you were around for the
Paul, I remember. It wasn't even he was the only promotion he had was on his YouTube. At the end of every one of his YouTube videos, he was on this date, Blue Neighborhood is coming out. I remember him releasing the videos. I remember salivating over them.
Right. And honestly, Troye Sivan doing what he did when he did, coming out as a gay artist before he was big in the music industry at that
was
time.
Bold.
Yeah,
that was bold.
No one else was really doing that besides Elton John, which he was already huge and established.
Even Elton John waited till he was established.
Right. So Troy coming out and being hey, I'm gay and I'm a music artist, and he's still made it. He's not as mainstream as he could be, which.
But he's becoming mainstream. That SNL sketch.
Yeah, he was on SNL, and honestly, this tour with Charlie XCX is going to be huge. The Sweat Tour, it's going to be iconic. And what was I going to say? Shit. I lost my train of thought. But
I would love to go to see him, but the closest one to us in Pittsburgh is Columbus, and it's on Wednesday, and I can't justify spending money to see something and then miss work for it.
Right. Being an adult sucks. But what I was going to say, I have heard interviews of Troye Sivan where he has said sometimes he wishes he wasn't the gay artist because that's what people see him as, is just the gay artist. And I think as gay people, we can relate to that because we're not just we're always going to be, oh, that's not just Paul, that's gay Paul, that's the gay uncle, that's my gay whatever. We're always going to have that label attached to us, and there's always going to be that connotation to it. So, and Troy doing what he did and knowing that he's going to have that connotation to his name, and we're all going to have that regret at some point about what it is and having that connotation. Do you kind of get what I'm getting at?
Mm-hmm.
He's brave for doing what
I
he's
get
doing.
that. I want to get a little, because I live with my grandparents. I want to get a little pride flag, one of the ones that hang.
Right.
And you stick in your garden.
Mm-hmm.
And just like a little one, I'm just going to stick it out there. And like, if they say anything, I'm going to be like, I just thought it was cute.
Right.
And if they're like, we're going to take it down, it's like, nope, because like, if you leave this up for me for June, I'll put the American flag out for you for July.
Period. Get into
because
it.
Unfortunately, we live in a time where gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, non-binary, asexual, agender, genderqueer people are being regarded by a lot of people as non-citizens and as people who don't have rights.
Right.
So, my grandparents as white, cis, heterosexual couple, I will honor your flag if you honor mine.
Period. Get into it. Take that home, folks. And yeah, I just wanted to say that about Troye Sivan, about how brave he is. And he probably doesn't realize, like, all he's done for the community, just being him, being so out and proud, and continuing to be
oh my God.
Unapologetically gay.
Like him, Connor Franta, Joey Graceffa,
Right.
Will Oakley. Is it Will Oakley? No.
Yeah.
Will Oakley?
Tyler Oakley.
Tyler Oakley. Why did I say Will?
God only. It's fine.
And like they had a huge breakup, but Will and RJ, Shep 689.
I have no clue who those people are.
They did like vlogging. They were a gay couple, but like they really like those are the people. Mello something. Do you remember him?
I have no clue.
Okay. We'll go down a deep dive of TikTok later.
Right.
But yeah, like they helped me come to terms with my sexuality and see a future for myself as a gay person.
Exactly. Especially like for kids who live in small towns like I did, where there was like zero other gay people around. You get to see them like online and like see them actually living real, normal, happy lives. It's so important.
From the time like in my high school, from like 9th grade, I think like end of 9th grade, like after 9th grade, like so 10th, 11th, and 12th, there were no other out gay kids in my school other than me.
Been there. I was the first one to come out too. Been there.
I was the only one. But like even like you and I, we're only 27, but we didn't have gay people growing up.
Right.
Like we had no visibility.
Right. And now it's just so prevalent. Like, yeah, they don't realize what they did for the community. Yeah. And we salute you guys. And we salute you, Troy. And keep up the good work and keep being unapologetically you, because it means the world to so many people.
They're my presidents.
Troye Sivan for president.
Except he's not an American. Anyways, I think with that, Paul, what are we drinking?
So today it's a little different. We have a little bit different of a paranormal pairing, and you'll see why I chose this beverage. This beverage is a staple for my hometown, my people. Not just like my country folk, but my frat boys too. We love a good Bud Light, and you guys will see later when I get into the story why I chose beer and why I chose a nice classic Bud Light. So let's get our first bottle opening.
I'm going to open mine first because you were like tapping on yours hard. We're going to give it a second.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Or do you want to open it for me?
You can open it.
Okay.
Give them our first bottle opening ASMR.
I'm just watching you tap on that thing. I'm like, that's going to explode on camera.
Ooh.
That was smooth.
All right, cheers. Classic. 5 grapes.
2.5.
2.5.
I'm not a beer drinker.
See, I'm a beer drinker. I love me some beer. Now, I don't get into that hoppy shit. I don't fuck around with hoppy.
I'll drink a Heineken or a Corona or a Guinness sometimes.
Yeah, light beers is where it's at. That's what you gotta do.
But, like...
especially a nice, like, light beer on a summer day. Get into it.
This is not, like, the worst beer I've ever had. Mm-hmm. But, like...
Yo, porch sitting with a nice Bud Light. Get into that. I love to sit on a porch. One
I
thing about
know.
me is I love to sit on a porch.
I know.
But enough about me and my country ways. Yeehaw. Why don't we get into today's story?
Okay. Let's do it.
Let me tell you a story, DJ. So, a wise man once said, "A honky tonk, badonky donk." Now, many scientists and scholars have speculated about the true meaning of this phrase, but I know in my heart it is referring to the essence of an American classic, the honky tonk bar. A honky tonk is an American bar where good old country folk can gussy on up to the bar after a long day of work and get a bottle of their favorite beer and listen to some good old country music with like-minded folks. A place to kick your boots up, forget about your problems, and unwind from the day. But today, we aren't talking about just any honky tonk bar. This honky tonk bar is special. And I'm not talking fresh pair of steel-toed boots, new Ford truck, blonde babe on your arm special. I'm talking about the worst kind of special. The special that haunts you in the middle of the night. This honky-tonk bar is considered to be a portal to hell, with a blood-stained past, tortured present, and no hope for the future. Today, I will be sharing the infamous story of America's most haunted honky-tonk bar. I am talking about none other than Bobby Mackey's Music World.
Yeah.
Get into it, Bobby Mackey.
God. Zach Baggins, take my virginity.
Honestly, Zach Baggins is so hot for no reason.
My virginity was taken a long time ago, but if I could get it back, it would be Zach Baggins.
Honestly, when they toured Bobby Mackey, it changed my life. So crazy. And anyone at home who is into the paranormal, you've probably heard of Bobby Mackey's. It's so infamous. And I feel like everyone's covering it right now. And I honestly, you don't have to believe me, but I will say I was going to cover this before everyone started covering it again.
Yes, you claimed dibs on it weeks ago.
Yes. And I just love Bobby Mackey's and I've always wanted to go there, but we'll see if I make it there, and we'll see why, maybe this week. But before I get into it, I've got some trigger warnings for you guys.
Ooh.
This episode contains graphic depictions of murder and suicide. So if those are triggers for you, we'll gladly see you next week for a lighter topic, maybe. But I don't know what we're going to be covering next week. I'm not sure if it's going to be a lighter topic or not. So we'll see.
You're promising big there.
Right. But Bobby Mackey's is located in Wilder, Kentucky, on the banks of the Wild Licking River.
Wild Licking.
Right.
I once went out with a guy that was his nickname.
We know DJ enjoys some wild licking. That's what... Wait, never mind. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to do that to you, my girl.
Especially... I love some wild licking, especially below my Mason-Dixon line.
That was a good one. I appreciate that. But just to get you guys the context of where Bobby Mackey's is located, it's next to the river, the Wild Licking River, and it's also right next to some train tracks. It's in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the woods, kind of like our backdrop here. If you're not watching our video, go check it out so you can see our spooky backdrop. But yeah, so that's kind of the landscape of what Bobby Mackey's is, surrounded by lots of woods, kind of remote, all that jazz in the middle of nature. So let's start from the beginning, like all good stories. So in 1850, a large slaughterhouse was constructed to serve the local community on this site. So this slaughterhouse would operate until 1890, and during its operation, a well was dug in the basement, right? And they would use this well to dump blood and guts. Basically,
I don't like
all
it.
The animal parts they
I don't
weren't
like
using. It. Right. It's really gross. They would just basically dump everything they weren't using in the slaughterhouse into this well, right? But the building eventually closed, right? And it's said after the building would close, there was a group that would actually hold satanic rituals in the basement around the well where they would put all the excess animal blood and guts and Some people even say they would do animal as well as human sacrifices in the well, this satanic group.
First of all, no. That's how you get possessed. Second of all, I volunteer. I'm ready.
You want to be sacrificed to the well? You want to be slaughtered? Sorry, sacrificed to this?
Just take me out. Just take me out.
Honestly, that would be quite the way to go. That would be so spooky.
Although, I only want it if I get to go into the afterlife on my terms.
Mm-hmm.
I do not want to get dragged to hell, like in
Drag Me to Hell?
No.
There's a movie called
Drag Me to Hell. But Dead Boy Detectives.
Oh, I still have to see that one.
Edwin was... This isn't really a spoiler. The way he died was he was sacrificed by a bunch of his schoolmates, like in a joke.
Oh.
But the demon actually came, and he was like, sorry, like, I gotta take you to hell anyways.
That's crazy. I need to watch the show. That sounds wild. Honestly, being sacrificed to a satanic well, that would be crazy. I can't even imagine that. But moving a little bit forward, a little off topic from the Satanists doing their sacrifices, we're going to discuss a little incident in 1896 that happened to a 20-year-old girl named Pearl Bryan. So Pearl had actually gotten pregnant by her boyfriend, Scott Johnson.
Oh, no.
Right. And Scott was studying to be a dentist, right?
Oh.
So at this time, like, they're unwed, like, back in the day, they got those strong Christian values, so it was probably like, you get married to this girl and all this jazz.
Girl, what do you mean back then? Still, people who aren't married who get pregnant, the first thing a lot of their cousins say, well, you gonna get married before the baby or after the baby?
That's very true. It's still present to this day, that stigma that you have to be married to have a child. But needless to say, they did not want the baby. So... Oh my god, excuse me. I'm burping because the beer, that's so gross. So, Scott and his friend Alonzo would take matters into their own hands, and they tried to give Pearl an abortion themselves. First, they tried cocaine to, like, abort the baby, but that didn't work. Now, next, they tried using some of Scott's dental tools to abort the child, and it ended up going horribly, horribly wrong, and Pearl actually ended up dying from this. So, it gets more gruesome from here, so if this is already too much for you, again, maybe skip like 10 minutes and maybe it'll get better. Do you have something to say, or can I keep going?
Keep going.
So, what they would do after Pearl died, they would surgically remove Pearl's head and dump her in a field about 2 miles away from Bobby Mackey's. And they surgically removed her head so they wouldn't be able to recognize who the body was.
Right.
But unfortunately, they did not. Well, not unfortunately. Fortunately, they didn't get away with it.
Good.
Because Pearl's body was identified by the shoes she was wearing. Now, I know what you're thinking. How did they identify her by her shoes? Well, fortunately, Pearl was a Maxxinista, so they just went on down to their local TJ Maxx and pulled up her Maxxinista rewards program and found out that Pearl bought those shoes. And you, too, can benefit from all of TJ Maxx's rewards by using Crips and Corks 30 at your next TJ Maxx purchase and save 30% off your next TJ Maxx purchase and benefit just like Pearl did from being a Maxxinista.
See, you're not gonna sacrifice me to Satan. You're gonna sacrifice me to whoever the fuck TJ Maxx is. You. Like, if you were gonna sacrifice me, you would sacrifice me to TJ Maxx. I'm calling it now.
Did you not get the joke?
I did get the joke.
Okay.
But I'm saying, like...
No, we're not sponsored by TJ Maxx.
I'm gonna go to my own version of hell where I'm just forced to work in a TJ Maxx because you sacrificed me.
Working in a TJ Maxx would be hell. But for the record, we are not sponsored by TJ Maxx. That was for the bit.
But we could be.
But that is kind of the same along the lines of what happened in this story. The police were able to locate, find out who Pearl's was by using her shoes. They tracked where she bought the shoes, and they were able to find out Pearl was the one who bought those shoes. So if they had taken off their shoes, they probably wouldn't have been able to identify Pearl. But the police did some awesome detective work and were able to identify Pearl's body. Now, obviously, Scott and Alonzo were sentenced Well, they were tried and sentenced to death. And on the gallows, Alonzo vowed to haunt the area forever. Now, another interesting...
Not the dentist, right?
No, that was his friend. Because
thank God for small miracles.
Alonzo, claimed that he didn't do it throughout the entire thing. And he was pretty pissed that he was getting, sentenced to death.
It could have been that, Scott just did it and brought Alonzo in?
Yeah. And there's another part to this story that's kind of crazy as well. So, Scott and Alonzo were actually offered an ultimatum after they were tried. The police told them that if they told them where Pearl's head was, they wouldn't be put to death. But they refused, obviously, to tell them where Pearl's head was.
Jesus!
Now,
You already got caught. What do you have to lose?
Well, it said that Scott and Alonzo had ties to the satanic cult, and they used her head in one of the satanic sacrifices, and that they had a deal with the devil, and if they told them where Pearl's head was, they would be dragged to hell with Satan or something. They had a deal with Satan, and they would be tortured forever or something if they gave up where Pearl's head was. So that's why they chose death over revealing where they put Pearl's head. So how do you feel so far?
Never make a deal with the devil. It will all bite you in the ass.
I completely agree. Don't make a deal with the devil.
Although you can make a deal with me, especially if it's over dinner and a nice restaurant and a bottle of wine.
They could just get probably just about anything out of you after that.
Ooh.
So, later, the slaughterhouse building, it would be demolished and sit empty until about the 1920s. This is when a new building was built, and it was used as a casino, right? It wasn't just a casino. It was a nightclub and a speakeasy because this was during Prohibition.
Love Prohibition.
So they would use the Licking River, right, to transport.
Move the booze.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I brought up the river at the beginning too, because they used the river during the Prohibition era to move the booze to the casino and where they were. So when Prohibition ended in 1933. E.A. Buck Brody bought the building and named it Primrose. He ran it as a casino, and it was a very successful casino, actually. The casino actually got so successful that it caught the attention of local mobsters.
Oh, no.
Right. And the mobsters tried to weasel their way in there, tried to, bite off Buck and everything, but Buck refused. And obviously, this made the mobsters pretty angry. So tensions really escalated, and the mobsters started threatening Buck, and not only started threatening Buck, but also started threatening some of the customers in their parking lot and everything. So tensions really got high, and it escalated so much that Buck Brady would actually pull out a gun on one of the mobsters. Now, this mobster must have been a little bitch, because he...
Can I make a joke?
Yes.
I come to you with a very good deal on this, the day of my daughter's wedding, and you pull a gun on me?
I'm not sure which episode of The Kardashians that was, but I should probably really keep up with that show.
That was any episode that involves Kim.
Not Kim. Oh my gosh. Love The Sopranos.
I was doing The Godfather.
Oh my god.
The opening scene. You come to me on this, the day of my daughter's wedding, to ask me a favor.
You know what? I'll see myself out, okay? I'm sorry. I apologize to all you stans out there.
Are you going to say I've never seen The Godfather now?
No, I haven't. I'm not going to lie to you. I haven't seen The Sopranos either. I was just saying that to seem relatable. Oh, DJ left. So anyway, now this is Paul's podcast. We're now a pop culture podcast. No, I'm kidding. All right. So, like I was saying, the mobster must have been a little bitch because he ratted out Buck Brady to the police, and he got charged. Buck got charged with attempted murder.
I think there's more to that story, because why did the mobster go to the police?
You know, maybe there is more to that story.
I think the mobster got caught doing something.
You know, you'll find...
And he said, Buck whatever pulled a gun on me.
Right.
And I think it was, I'll make a deal with you.
One thing you'll find about Bobby Mackey and the history of Bobby Mackey is there's a lot of different versions to each story. Like, every website I went to, it was all slightly different. Mm-hmm. So I feel like a lot of this is folklore, too.
Okay.
So, but the tea is that Buck Brady got tried with attempted murder, and that's why he, like, stepped out of the casino business. And
oh my God. That's not, terroristic threat at most.
Yeah, I don't know. The tea is he got tried with attempted murder and he quit. And they closed the building, but don't worry. In the 1950s, the building reopened as a nightclub called the Latin Quarter. Sounds fun. Yes.
Shaking the maracas.
Period. Come on, cultural appropriation.
They're fake maracas, Paul.
Fake cultural appropriation. Canceled.
Shaking my fake maracas in your face.
Oh my gosh. So, at the Latin Quarter, there was this dance hall girl named Johanna, right? And Johanna's father actually owned the club.
Ooh.
Well, Johanna actually fell in love with a singer at the club named Robert Randall. And they fell in love. Classic love story, but much like Pearl, she got pregnant. But they
use a condom. Did they have condoms back then?
Probably. They probably were just like not using it. And I imagine sex education back then was not the tea.
Sexual education back then was hang on, I gotta pick a voice. Let me scroll through my personalities.
Oh my God.
Millicent, if a man so much as touches your knee, you shall become with child. It will be a scandal that will ruin us all.
It was very much wait until marriage or you're going to hell.
Yes.
And no one waited till marriage, as we can tell.
Oh, but no one. I mean, even in, like, the Amish community, like, it's noted that once you're engaged, you're kind of allowed to do it.
Right, do whatever you want, girl. Have fun. What's that saying? You gotta try out the car before you buy it?
Yeah.
Gotta try out the car before you buy it.
Well, not in the Amish community, because, like, once you sign, like, they've signed the contract.
Mm-hmm.
You just haven't taken the car off the lot yet.
That's tea.
Because once you're in that pact, you ain't getting out of it. Unless you go on the Rumspringa.
Ooh, get up in that Rumspringa.
New drinking game. Every time we say Rumspringa, do a shot.
That would be fun. Excuse me. Oh my gosh. Well, unlike Pearl, though, Johanna and her boyfriend Robert Randall actually wanted the baby and they planned to run off together. But unfortunately, Johanna's father caught wind of this. And Johanna's father, he had some dealings with the mob as well, had some shady dealings. So he had some connections himself. And so he had Robert Randall killed, unfortunately.
No.
But
Bobby. No, Bobby. Bobby, no.
Bobby, no. But don't worry. After that, Johanna found out that...
Did she kill her dad?
Yeah, she poisoned her dad.
Fuck yeah.
And then she killed herself in the basement.
Oh.
She didn't want to be alive. She didn't want to be alive without...
This is like a Greek tragedy.
It is like a Greek tragedy. She didn't want to be alive without the love of her life.
See, I mean, it was already like a Greek tragedy when she killed her father, but like killing herself like Shakespeare.
Right. So, following her suicide, the club would close and reopen as a club called none other than the Hard Rock Cafe.
No.
It's not associated with the Hard Rock.
I was about to say.
Not associated with the one you're thinking about. Not associated with the one you guys are all probably thinking about. It was just called the Hard Rock Cafe. And this was actually a biker bar. And there were two rival biker gangs that would frequent this bar.
Jesus.
So as you could probably imagine, there was a lot of fighting, a lot of butting heads, a lot of rivalry, and just a lot of violence. So there would end up being so much violence that the police would have to take control and close the club again. So far we have a lot of violence, a lot of murder, a lot of crazy shit.
And how long was the Hard Rock Cafe open?
Let me see. So that closed. I know it closed in 1977.
Okay.
I apologize. I don't have an open date.
I'm feeling like it was probably open for 10 years. I'm going to guess.
Probably like 5 or 10.
5 or 10, between 5 and 10.
I do know it closed in 77, though.
Okay, just because you said, like, very quickly it closed, and I'm like,
Yeah. Well, it was so rowdy, the police had to close it. There was not only just, like, fights, but also, like, murders and things.
I have a question that's kind of off topic.
What's up?
Have you ever been to a Hard Rock Cafe?
I went to one once. And
I have never been. And we have one in Pittsburgh.
It's okay. It's nothing to write home about.
Can we go sometime?
We can go to one of their drag brunches. They
have drag brunches? Yes.
Yes, our local...
Wait, I think... Don't Indy and Luna Skies?
No, that's Lola LaCroix. Shout out Lola, but also...
I thought Luna and Indy did shows there.
No, they do other places. Lola has the T on... Well, has the... Whatever you want to call it on Hard Rock.
She's got the N.
Yeah, she's got the monopoly there, honey. But after all this opening and closing and death and violence, that's when the main character of our story, Bobby Mackey, would step in. Now, before I get into Bobby Mackey's story, there's a few interesting coincidences I want to note.
Okay.
Or maybe not even coincidences. I don't believe in coincidences, but if you do at home, consider them coincidences.
But I do believe in accidents.
So, Bobby Mackey's full name was actually Robert Randall Mackey.
Shut the fuck up.
Yes, he shares a name with that singer who got murdered by the star-crossed singer who got murdered by his lover's daughter when he got the daughter pregnant and was going to run away with them. He shared a name. See, the T is, his mother, Bobby Mackey's mom, was going to name him something different, but then a few days later, something came over her and she changed her mind and decided to change her son's name to Robert Randall Mackey.
I'm gobsmacked.
Isn't that insane? Another crazy thing is that the train tracks that run beside Bobby Mackey's house, they go all the way to Bobby Mackey's childhood house.
Like past or like directly to?
Like past.
Okay.
I thought that was crazy too.
But still.
So like, there's already like a crazy connection between Bobby Mackey and this place.
He could have like walked the tracks. Like sometimes when you're growing up around.
Well, these are long train tracks. He grew up pretty far from Bobby Mackey's.
Okay. I was gonna say because like when you live near train tracks, sometimes you just walk along them for fun.
Yeah, no, he lived pretty far away.
Okay.
It's just interesting that the tracks stretched all the way to where he lived, where like growing up. So he's already got a little bit of like some weird things tying him to these places. But a little bit about Bobby Mackey at the time. So he was an aspiring country music artist who left his job at the railroad to pursue his music career full time. And this wasn't like, he had been touring at this time too. So it really wasn't a hop, skip, and a jump for him to like pursue it full time because he was going on tours and stuff. But at the same time, Bobby Mackey's wife got pregnant, right? Mm-hmm. And so he needed something where he could pursue his music career, but still like be tied down a little bit and have somewhere like, you know what I'm trying to say? He could still perform his music, but still be close to his wife.
But still be settled.
Exactly. So he was looking for an opportunity to settle down, stop touring, but still pursue his music career and everything. So that's when Bobby Mackey found the place that would become Bobby Mackey's place. So when Bobby Mackey first toured the building, he said that he felt just right in the building, that it felt like he was meant to be there, that it was his destiny to own this place.
That's so sweet.
So Bobby Mackey at this point, he had seen the place once, already sold, loves the place. But later that day, he would show his wife Janet the property, and she had the exact opposite response. She hated the building. It gave her an awful vibe, bad feeling, bad vibes
it's Pearl.
all around.
This is Robert Randall reincarnated, and Johanna,
yes,
is pissed at Janet.
Ooh, okay, that's an interesting theory. I like that theory.
Like this is Robert Randall's reincarnation, and like Johanna is like mine, bitch.
T. That's interesting. Keep that thought, because we'll get into ghost stories a little bit later. So keep that thought. Keep that in your good old little brain.
Put a pin in it. Put a pin in it.
So Bobby Mackey had Janet in there, and they were taking a look around the place and everything, doing the thing, looking around. So Janet went into the kitchen to look at the equipment, while Bobby went out to get something from the truck. Then, when Janet was alone in the kitchen, she heard a gargled female voice, but couldn't quite make out what the voice was saying. So, freaked out, Janet went into the ballroom to find back Bobby and saw Bobby was still outside. When he came in, she asked who he was talking to, and he said no one, and that it was just them in the entire place. This would foreshadow the terrifying...
No.
This would foreshadow the terrifying events to come. Dun, dun, dun.
You said she came back into the ballroom?
Yes. So the ballroom is like the main room. So the kitchen's like behind the bar, and the ballroom is like the main bar room.
Okay. I get it, because like maybe it was like... Okay, I get it now.
Yeah, that's just how they were. Well, that's how they referred to it in the article.
Okay, now I get it. I had a family friend who owned a bar and a banqueting center.
Mm-hmm.
And the one room we did call the ballroom because it was big 2 stories with a balcony.
Okay.
But like which makes sense to me because I've been there and I grew up around it. But never being to Bobby Mackey's. Okay.
Period. So after this, Janet did not want the place at all. But Bobby was already sold, so he went behind Janet's back and he bought the place.
And you know what? I bet, because she was looking at the equipment in the kitchen, I bet he expected her to cook in that kitchen.
Right, because honestly, as you'll see as we go on, this would be like both of their projects.
Yeah.
Like, they would both work on it and everything. So Janet's going to see it. It is very much a dual decision because it would be both of their livelihoods. Like, they're running this business together, and for him to like go behind her back and buy it, that was a little crazy about him.
Well, this was the 70s when...
Oh, yeah, he was probably like, I'm the man. I'm going to make the financial decisions. So it was probably very that. Now, one day, while they were renovating, a previous handyman that worked for the bar before it closed came in. His name was Carl Lawson. So, Carl stated that the previous club closed due to several brutal murders that had taken place there. The last year it was open was the most violent and actually had 6 murders taken place.
6?
That's what Carl Lawson said when he was talking with them. And later, Lawson would say in an interview that the club attracted a more violent crowd than one expects. Yeah, bars have fights and such, but this bar crowd seemed particularly violent. But, you know, I imagine Carl was... It's not like for certain, like, what era he was working in, but I imagine he was working at the Hard Rock Cafe when it was that. It was a biker bar.
Yeah, no. When you said, like, the previous, like, bartender, Carl, I was like...
He was a handyman, not a bartender.
Handyman. Yeah. I was like... Biker bar era.
Right. No wonder, like, people
and it was the most
rough.
violent the last year. Like, that makes sense why they, like, the police were like, you know, you got to get out of here.
So him saying that it attracted, like, a crazy crowd. It was a biker bar girl. What do you expect, Samantha? But, nonetheless, Bobby Mackey dismissed Carl Lawson saying all of this and thought it was the type of music that they played. In that sense, it was becoming a country music bar. They'd be fine. Country music fixes everything.
That's such, like, a country music thing to say.
Right. Just throw in a little Uncle Cracker. Put on that little Toby Keith and you'll be good. Don't worry about it.
All right. Carl, son, that was a biker bar. Right. They were playing the rock music. This is going to be a country establishment.
Right, a good old-fashioned country bar with nice, wholesome country folk.
I don't swear in my music. I just talk about how good I treat my wife and how much I love my God and love my country.
Right?
Oh.
It's crazy that Bobby really said that and thought... He said, let me play some country music. Everything will be fixed.
I was gagging at my, like, because we all know that I don't particularly like country music.
I low-key, there are some country songs I stan, and do you know about Orville Peck?
Yes. Okay.
Orville Peck, we stan.
Yes.
Y'all need to get
I said
into
I
it.
don't particularly like country music, but I can get into some of it. Orville Peck, Cowboy Carter.
Casey Musgraves, we stan.
Is Casey Musgraves even country at this point?
Yes, and I stand by that.
Okay.
Y'all need to get into some Casey Musgraves. But we're getting off track. Let me get back into the good old story. So, Bobby ended up hiring Carl as the full-time caretaker of the property, and Carl would actually live in the apartment above the club.
Okay.
So Carl would end up being very involved with the club and everything. So they started renovations on the building to get things together. Janice and Carl would work a lot together on projects in the renovation, and they would become very close, have a lot of conversations. You know, when you're working all the time like that together, not much else going on, not much other to do than talk to each other. So one day, Janet asked Carl if he ever experienced anything in the club. His response was that he thought there was a dark force in the club that made people do bad things, and they would watch out for each other. That, like, Carl and Janet should watch out for each other. Now, there's another telling where Carl actually says, like how I said before, there's multiple tellings of these. There's another telling of this story where Carl actually tells Janet that he says that there's ghosts in the club, but they shouldn't be feared because he's friends with the ghosts that are in the club, which is a much spookier telling of the story. But honestly, I think the first telling is probably more accurate, and the second telling might have been just for, like, spooks, for the folklore. You know what I'm saying?
I'm going to pick something in the middle.
Yeah.
Where he's like, we'll watch out for each other. Don't you worry. If you're friends with me, I'm friends with the ghosts.
Ooh, maybe he was flirting a little bit. Or maybe he was a little crazy. Who knows?
Who knows?
So, following this conversation, Carl went to continue painting, and Janet went to wash dishes while washing... Janet went to wash dishes. While washing dishes, Janet heard a gargling female voice again.
Ooh.
The same one she had heard the first day she was in Bobby Mackey's. Janet looked down, and to her horror, the sink was filling with blood. When Janice tried to call out for help, she felt something grab the back of her head and trying to push her into the sink of blood like they were trying to drown her in it. Janice had her hands on the side of the sink, keeping herself from being immersed in the dark, bloody liquid. She was screaming for Carl. There she was, being pushed into the sink by an unseen force, screaming for help, no one's coming, pregnant and alone. And that's where we'll leave it until part 2 to hear the fate of Janet. What do you think of Bobby Mackey so far?
The OG meter is high. It is
This
not
place-
yet off the charts.
Bobby Mackey's is so spooky. This is probably one of the scariest hauntings I've ever encountered or heard. And that's why I had to split it into 2 parts, because there's so much to this story and so much for the hauntings. And in part 2, we'll find out not only if Janet survives, but also we're going to learn all about the hauntings and everything that ensues.
Okay.
I love
bird.
Bobby Mackey's, but for our video watchers and listeners, I do have the photos ready, so let's get into some photos. Ooh, girl. So our audio listeners, take your hands off the wheel, close your eyes, and go to our YouTube channel.
Oh my
and
God.
for our video.
Or our Instagram.
Or our Instagram.
Or our
for sure.
Facebook.
Wherever you want to see these photos, we're all over social media. Now, first, this is a photo of the outside of Bobby Mackey's. Get into it.
Okay.
That's a photo of outside of Bobby Mackey's.
It kind of looks like P-Town.
It does look like P-Town a little bit. That's a picture of the railroad tracks that are right beside the building. Bobby Mackey. So it's really close. Very, very close. Period. Get into it. Next is a picture of the well that was dug, where they did the satanic sacrifices, the animal sacrifices, and the slaughterhouse used it to dump all their remains.
I don't like it.
It is spooky. Ooh, let me go to the next one. Oh, here's a picture of our good girl Pearl before she was beheaded. That's Pearl before she got killed.
Okay.
Obviously. And I think I have one more. Oh, that's good old Bobby Mackey himself. Good old Bobby Mackey himself.
Oh, and he's outside of Bobby Mackey's music world.
Yep. Honestly, buying a place and naming it after yourself before you're famous, that's low-key kind of crazy. It's honestly...
Yeah.
That's a whole move.
Until you start, like, looking into him, I always thought, like, oh, he must have been, like, big when he bought it, that he named it after himself.
Yeah, but he really wasn't that big from what I gather.
Yeah.
But hey, believe in yourself, you know? You gotta believe in yourself. And
believe in the Delulu until it's true.
Exactly, and trust and believe. Homegirl was Delulu for sure. Honestly, we're gonna get into a lot about how he saw all the red flags and he said, no, it's not gonna happen. Just put on the country music. It's fine. Nothing's real. Everything's fine. Excuse me. Again, we're not having beer on this podcast again. I can't keep burping like
Jesus.
this. We're gonna have to go back to the wine, okay? We can't be burping like this. This isn't some unkempt podcast.
This is our first boo beer.
Boo beer. Okay.
Yeah.
Like that boo berry cereal.
Because we have paranormal pairings.
Yeah.
Creepy cocktails.
Mm-hmm.
So boo beer.
Boo beer. Boo beer. I'll get it right. We'll workshop it. We'll workshop it. So, DJ, smash or pass? Bobby Mackey.
Pass.
I think I'd pass too. He seems kind of crazy. He seems like...
The fact that he didn't, like... And you know, he did not ask his, like... He probably co-signed his wife's name on all those documents, or at least used their joint bank account.
Right.
Without her permission.
That's the tea. Bobby Mackey. There's probably some stories there that the people aren't seeing, honey girl. And maybe we'll get into that next time. Ooh,
I hope so.
Actually, next week is going to be your week to present, so...
Unless
they're going to have to wait 2 weeks.
Unless you want to go back to back.
They're going to have to wait 2 weeks.
Okay.
Keep the suspense going. Or maybe we'll do it next week. I guess you'll have to... It'll be a real surprise this time. Maybe you'll get it next week. Maybe you'll get it the week after. We'll see how things go.
Happens.
We'll see what happens. We'll keep y'all updated. So you'll be on the edge of your seats either way. Yeah. I'm always edging myself.
This is only our second parter, and this is the first one since we've split weeks.
You missed my joke.
I'm sorry, would you like to say it again?
Yes.
Okay.
I said, and I'm always edging myself, so...
You make that joke every episode.
I don't make that joke every episode.
Nearly.
Girl, we're gonna fight. One day. That's why you gotta watch the video, so you can see me and DJ fight. It's on, bitch. We're gonna Rumble Royale. It's about to be the saddest fight you've ever seen, but it's on, bitch. Fight? Yes. The saddest one you've ever seen.
Yeah, because one of us is going to slap the other one across the face, and the one who got slapped is going to start crying.
Oh, I'm not crying. Trust and believe.
If you slapped me or if I slapped you, no matter what, I'd start crying after.
Aww.
It's because I don't have many friends.
Oh,
you're all I have left.
No, that is not true. We go out every weekend with a lot of people. We have a lot of friends.
You're all I have left.
Maybe I might cut that out because I don't want the people to be offended. People are going to start watching this.
No, that's not true. I have wonderful friends.
Yes. It's so hot in here, guys.
Okay, let's end it real quick.
Guys, it's so fucking hot in here. It feels like I'm in hell.
If you have, please text us, like comments,
Yes, text us, please.
input
The
about
link's
this
down
episode.
below.
If you have personal stories, please email us at cripsandcorks@gmail.com. If you'd like to follow us on Facebook or on Twitter at Crips and Corks, and on Instagram or TikTok at Crips and Corks Pod. Paul, where can they find you when you're not at home?
You can find me at my personal Instagram at Paul Ember, Paulember, and my personal TikTok at Paul Ember, Paulember. And as usual, folks, it's not delivery, it's DiGiorno.
And you can follow me on TikTok and on Instagram at The Real Teach Powers. And if you want to slide into my DMs, you can find me on Sniff. I don't have a Facebook, so good luck finding me.
Period.
And I think that's all she wrote. So till next time, Corkies, and remember to keep your crips tight
And your corks loose.
Bye.
Ooh, I want it inside me.